Hi, my name is Ryan, and welcome back to Behind the Tape. This is the channel where we peel back the layers of the most shocking and twisted crime stories. From chilling unsolved cases to the confessions of dangerous minds, we're here to take you on a deep dive into the dark corners of true crime history. Today, we're going to uncover the haunting story of two brothers, Larry and Danny Rains, whose killing spree in Michigan left a trail of terror that spanned years. These aren't just random crimes committed by two strangers, they were brothers driven by different yet equally disturbing motivations. Stay with us as we walk you through a case so disturbing that it will leave you questioning how such evil could exist in one family. So buckle up, it's going to be a wild ride. The story of Larry and Danny Rains begins in the quiet city of Kalamazoo, Michigan. On the surface, this Midwestern town in the 1960s seemed peaceful, a place where people left their doors unlocked at night and neighbors knew each other by name. But beneath this idyllic surface, something sinister was brewing. Larry Rains, the older of the two brothers, was a charismatic but deeply troubled young man. Born into a working-class family, Larry's early life seemed typical at first glance. However, those who knew him best would later describe him as someone with a dark side, a young man prone to bouts of rage and a fascination with death that went far beyond curiosity. In 1964, Larry's quiet demeanor gave way to violence. His killing spree began, targeting vulnerable victims in and around Kalamazoo. Larry was meticulous, calculating, and terrifyingly calm. His victims were chosen at random, making his crimes even more difficult to predict and solve. It wasn't long before Larry was arrested and convicted for multiple murders. His cold, emotionless confession sent shockwaves through the community. Everyone thought the nightmare was over. But the horror was just beginning. In 1968, just 4 years after Larry's arrest, the city of Kalamazoo faced another wave of brutal murders. This time, the perpetrator was Larry's younger brother, Danny Rains. Unlike Larry, who was known for his meticulous planning, Danny's crimes were impulsive and driven by a dangerous combination of anger and opportunity. Danny had always lived in the shadow of his older brother. After Larry's arrest, many believed Danny was simply a troubled young man struggling with the stigma of being related to a convicted serial killer. No one could have predicted that Danny would follow in his brother's footsteps and surpass him in brutality. Danny's killing spree began in 1968, targeting hitchhikers and vulnerable young women. His method was straightforward but chilling. He offered rides to his victims, lured them into a false sense of security, and then attacked them with unimaginable cruelty. The bodies started turning up in remote areas around Kalamazoo. At first, investigators didn't connect the murders to Danny. The randomness of his attacks made it difficult to establish a clear pattern. But as the number of victims grew, a chilling realization set in: another predator was on the loose, and he was just as dangerous as Larry. By 1972, the police were under immense pressure to solve the string of murders. The public was terrified. Parents warned their children never to hitchhike, and the once peaceful streets of Kalamazoo were filled with fear and suspicion. Detectives worked tirelessly to piece together clues. The victims shared few similarities, some were young women, others were men, but all had been lured by a stranger offering a ride. Witnesses provided vague descriptions of a man driving a nondescript car, but the leads were few and far between. Then, a breakthrough came. A survivor, a young woman who had managed to escape from her attacker, provided a detailed description of her assailant. Her testimony led investigators to Danny Rains, whose face was already known to police because of his connection to Larry. Danny was arrested in 1972. During his interrogation, he remained calm and collected, much like his older brother. But as the questioning continued, cracks began to show. Faced with mounting evidence, Danny confessed to the murders. His confession was chilling in its detail. He described how he selected his victims, how he gained their trust, and how he carried out the murders without remorse. He seemed almost proud of his crimes, a stark contrast to the fear and pain he had inflicted on his victims. The arrest of Danny Rains shocked the nation. The idea that two brothers could independently become serial killers was almost too horrific to comprehend. While some speculated that the brothers had conspired together, there was no evidence to suggest they had collaborated. Their killing sprees were separate but eerily similar in their cruelty. Psychologists and criminologists debated what could have driven the Rains brothers to such darkness. Was it nature or nurture? Were they born with a predisposition to violence, or did their upbringing play a role? To this day, no one knows for sure. What made the case even more disturbing was the fact that Larry and Danny showed little remorse for their actions. In interviews and court appearances, they remained cold and detached. Their victims were nothing more than pawns in their twisted games, a chilling reminder of how dangerous they truly were. Danny's trial was a media sensation. Journalists from across the country descended on Kalamazoo to cover the case. The courtroom was packed with spectators eager to catch a glimpse of the man who had terrorized their city. The evidence against Danny was overwhelming. His detailed confession, combined with the testimony of the survivor, left little room for doubt. It didn't take long for the jury to reach a verdict, guilty on all counts. Danny was sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. He would spend the rest of his days behind bars, just like his older brother, Larry. For the people of Kalamazoo, the sentencing brought a sense of relief but also a lingering sadness. The scars left by the Rains brothers would never fully heal. Families of the victims continued to mourn their losses, haunted by the memories of loved ones taken too soon. The story of Larry and Danny Rains is a stark reminder that evil can lurk in the most unexpected places. It's a chilling example of how even the closest of family bonds can be twisted into something dark and destructive. But it's also a story of survival and justice. The brave survivor who escaped from Danny's clutches played a crucial role in bringing him to justice, showing that even in the face of unimaginable horror, strength and courage can prevail. For law enforcement, the case served as a wake-up call, a reminder of the importance of thorough investigations and the need for better systems to identify and track serial offenders. And that brings us to the end of today's story. The tale of the Rains brothers is one that won't soon be forgotten, a chilling chapter in the history of true crime. As always, we'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think drove Larry and Danny to commit such horrific acts? Could anything have been done to stop them sooner? If you found this story as haunting as we did, make sure to like the video and share it with others who love true crime stories. And don't forget to subscribe to Behind the Tape for more spine-chilling cases just like this one. Until next time, stay safe, stay curious, and remember, sometimes the darkest stories are the ones that hit closest to home.